welcome back, everyone. Continuing the trend, no pun intended, from our last session. We're going to invite to the stage some individuals from Loxias, Alexander and Alejandra. They're going to talk to us about how they discovered trends in the beauty industry. So excited to have you both here.
Thank you, Morgan. Nice to meet
Hey,
you.
thanks. Yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on our journey to discover trends in the beauty industry. More particularly, we are going to show how Asian beauty trends impact the US beauty industry. And when I say we, that is us. This is Alejandra León. Alejandra, do you want to present
Yeah.
yourself?
Hello, everyone. Nice meeting you guys. And thank you for your time and for being here. I'm Alejandra León. I'm based in Argentina, Buenos Aires, and I'm the international business director for Loxias.
I'm Alex Kohlitz. I'm the founder of Loxias. So some 10 years ago, I'm based out of Munich. So before we start, let me present just a little bit what we are all about. So Loxias is a small multinational agency with operations throughout Latin America and in Europe. Um, we are, on the one hand, a value-added reseller of platforms such as Brandwatch and Hootsuite for the more traditional listening, and also on the next generation listening, we resell companies such as All Ears. They are from Sweden. Basically, they help you monitor audio, video, and podcast. And Nebula Social from Accrete, they are from the US. Accrete, or Nebula Social for that matter, helps you to analyze ecosystems and networks. They are fully AI based, so you do monitoring by prompt. And the tool helps you to find insights where traditional listening won't. Very well. We are, of course, we are. I forgot, of course, our second business, which is using the very same data that we have from our platforms or from our customers' platforms. We download them and we put our secret sauce, some AI algorithms, some methodologies on top to provide a really holistic picture. Because basically, what we also will be telling here is the traditional listening that is mostly focused on text and image only takes you so far, even though TikTok now in all the major platforms is available through API. But of course, there's the whole part that is invisible to the more traditional platforms, such as audio, video, podcast, or some more innovative monitoring through prompts, as I mentioned before. And this is exactly what we are going to do here. We use for this report, we use Brandwatch for the traditional listening, and then we used All Ears and Nebula for what I just mentioned, audio, video, podcast, and the network and ecosystem analysis. Very well. We have little time, so at the end of the presentation, of course, you have the opportunity to ask some questions. But if this isn't enough, please feel free to reach out. We're very happy to share more details and more insights on this study or on other questions you might have. Now I hand over to Alejandra to take you through the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Okay. So, we are talking about a trend. But first of all, what is a trend and why this is important? So, if we think about a definition about a trend, it might look like something like this, like a spike. When we talk about a trend, we're referring to a fast rising, time sensitive phenomenon that gains momentum through social media, using influencers, and it may get cultural shifts. So, trends usually have a short to mid term lifespan, lasting from a couple of weeks, or they can endure a couple of years. And When that happens, they become a macro trend. They are often sparked by social media virality. That's why we need to monitor all of them. By social media, maybe it could be a viral challenge. They are quickly adopted by influencers and they are tied to visual aesthetic or product innovations. If we switch into the next one, Alex, and to understand and to monitor a trend, it is also very important to understand how the ecosystem works. So, for beauty, today's beauty trends, they don't start in magazines like they used to do before. So, they start on TikTok, on Instagram, and YouTube. So, what is key about those platforms is that they have photos, they have video, they have sound. So, these are other levels, other components that we also need to monitor. Influencers as well, they play a really important part in the ecosystems because they are the ones who pull the trend and they expand into major audiences as well. It doesn't have to be like the macro trends that maybe you all know. We need to have the capability to discover micro influencers as well. And then we have all the users, the UCG, that create content and share experiences. And of course, we have the brands. So traditional market research can't keep up. So we really need to think about a real-time social intelligence that can cover everything. And this is essential for understanding behavior and staying ahead of the rapid shifts in the industry. We can go to the next one. So if we take a look back into the last couple of years, we can see how quickly trends in this beauty industry evolve. We can see from glossy lips in 2005 into contouring in 2015 and do-it-yourself haircuts during the pandemics. And who cannot relate with that? So, what is going to be for this year? In this ever changing industry, tracking trends in real time is no longer optional. It is essential for brands, it is essential for agencies to stay ahead of consumer shift and driving innovation with confidence. It is also important because it is not just to stay on the latest trend, but it has real impact in business application, as we can see. This may impact your campaign. So, for marketing strategies, you need to really look into the trends, into the latest. You probably need to adapt your campaigns and adapt as fast as possible. It is also important when thinking about product development. You may encounter a new product or a different use of an old product itself. And we discover, just as an example here, Vaseline. It was an old product, maybe used by our own grandmothers, and apparently it's being reused again with younger audiences. So they've launched new, maybe changing the packages, being more attractive for these younger audiences. So it's something that when you track a trend, you can have real impact in the business. The same happens for influencers. If you are having a strategy for influencers, you might need to look into those communities and trying to identify the micro influencers maybe you have out of your radar. So that's important as well. And another use, it could be for merge and acquisitions. Let's say that we identify a new product, a new small company being really popular, and another big major company wants to acquire that. It is highly recommended that they can do a due diligence in social media to really understand the brand reputation. So these are different ways you can adapt if you track a trend in time. If we go to the next one, Alex, we are playing a little bit with the words here. So, what's below the surface? What powers beauty trend discovery today goes far beyond what meets the eye. While the visible layers like listening tools and AI can detect patterns across format, the true magic lies in the invisible layer. So that may seem really obvious because you need to have like listening tools, but the important thing is that you can cover different formats. So as we already mentioned, like in TikTok, in Instagram, we have different formats. So having the right tools, the right tool set of them that can cover videos, text, photos, podcasts. So that is really key. And of course, now that is so popular, the artificial intelligence usage, of course, it's very helpful to optimize analysis, to extract data, and to find different patterns. That would be like the most obvious part of this analysis. But for us, we have another layer that we call it the invisible ones. Um, we use a hybrid approach. We not only rely on the best tools in the market, but also we combine with expert human analysis. We combine them to get deeper analysis while tracking a trend. And combining different data sets for us allow us to create proprietary methodologies that help us to predict consumer behavior, to create our own brand health indicators. So, um, and detect emerging narratives. We can go to the next one, Alex. And now we are going to present you three examples in the beauty industry and how these brands have used the Asian beauty, the Asian aesthetics that we are tracking here with different tools. So what we would like to highlight are the difference in type of data that you get depending on the type of tool that you use for them. So if we go to the next slide, as we can see here, we identify the usage of Asian icons through these two major brands. We have a case here, like Chanel, traditional link to older and more established audiences, is trying to stay relevant, aligning with younger voices that resonate with new generations. Like in this case, they did a collaboration with Janie. A similar case also they were applied to Dior, who did a collaboration with J Hope, come from the BTS band. So what they are trying to do is to gain more reach into younger audiences. And when you use this type of approach, the type of tool that can collect keywords and hashtags, you might expect the typical metrics, more quantitative metrics. Sorry, that means mentions, that means reach, impressions. So, but still, you get the idea of the size of a conversation, but you don't really get the why behind of this trend. We did a second analysis, keeping up with this trend. Alex, if we can go to the next slide here, thank you. And again, following with the same trend, we try to analyze by adding a new layer here. We use a technology that allows to monitor the audio. So by integrating audio data sets from these platforms like TikTok, YouTube, podcast, brands can gain access to deeper and emotional and cultural insights. So what we will be doing here will be increasing the volume. So versus the traditional tools that collects text and image only, we can also identify brand mentions or topic mentions or any other trend that you're looking by the audio. They're not putting in the copy of the post, but they are talking about this, their discussion. So you can also increase the volume, but it adds you a layer for the context. You get the sound, you get the emotional insight of how these mentions are being, how these topics are being talked about. You get you get to see if they are enthusiastic, how they are doing all those unboxing, what are they sharing with their communities, and you get this by using the audio. And in the last example that we did, we use We use a tool that you can create and you can collect data by writing a prompt. So this is also very innovative in the industry. We are allowed to see not only the mention, and of course we're tracking the trend here as well, but we are trying to understand how these communities, how big they are, how they are interconnected, all the influencers that might be activating a certain topic, a certain conversation. And it also allows to track and monitor audio and sounds. What are the sounds that they're using in their posts, in their content? It also gives you an idea of how close communities are within this ambience. And as a closing, we would like to summarize a little bit on the conclusions. What did we find in these trends? Alex, we can go to the next one. So, when using the traditional listening, we really understood how luxury brands are shifting strategies. They're using this Asian aesthetic into their strategies to stay younger, to keep up with younger audiences. And the use of icons coming from Asia, it's not only K-pop, for instance. It's also Thai drama. It's Chinese beauty creators. So it's everything. So when looking at the sound, when we added the audio, we identified different tones. It was more conversational. So the language was very casual. It was spontaneous. They were reflecting the way people talk in those platforms. They were sharing emotional and personal experiences, and they were sharing how maybe the makeup, and in this also following up with this trend, how the makeup helped them to overcome different situations in life. They were really doing connections with that communities. And lastly, we could identify terms like K beauty or Korean skincare. They form highly interconnected networks. You can discover different micro influencers that they are really connecting different audiences as well. So these are the findings, but also we have a couple of best practices that we would like to share with you. So when you are analyzing a trend, try to include as much data sources as possible, because that will give you a broader picture of the situation. Include not only text, but also audio. Try to include as many platforms as possible. And it's also important to compare the trend, how fast it grows, and and the sustainability as well. You need to see in a time frame if that is keeping, or is this transforming into a macro trend. It's also very important to identify the early signals of these emerging trends if you really need to take that in account for your strategies, and then transform data driven insight into actionable strategies for your brand. You may adapt your campaigns and your content. And thank you very much for your time. I don't know if this is the right moment. You can do your questions. Thank you so much.
Mute.
I'm on mute. I caught it, but I couldn't. My hand didn't react fast enough. So, thank you so much, Alex and Alejandra. Again, this is again, no pun intended, but so on trend, so on pulse, so important. I'm glad that you kind of put a pin note on that with the best practices. So I think we often encounter, hey, here's how you do it, but hey, what are the constructs to do it well, so that we can actually do it ourselves? I was going to see. I see from Tara in the chat the emphasis on audio analysis,
Yes.
and I'll stick you there to that point. When how does your team approach audio analysis? Are you looking at the kind of the metadata metrics with audio or video, or are you transcribing the what's being said in audio or video?
Mhm.
Your approach for that?
Yeah. Alex,
Let,
I can
let me
answer
let
that
me
one. Oh,
start off,
go.
and then
Yeah.
I pass the ball to you. So basically, we are in this for for over 10 years. So we saw that the traditional listening has come to some level of maturity and the market is evolving. As I mentioned earlier, it's great that we have now TikTok available on the traditional platforms, but the market is moving to different data sources. Yeah, so more and more you have audio, you have video, you have other inputs, and we were not able to analyze them. So in a way, our customers, we are working with large consumer brands. They pressured us to find alternative solutions. Uh, and the funny thing is, I mean, who is in the industry knows that there is not one single platform that does the trick. Yeah. So although the traditional platforms I mentioned earlier, like the brand watches, like the Hootsuites, they are very complete. Um, the market evolves quicker. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you need best of breed platforms, and then you need to integrate it, because only with audio and video you only go so far. But once you add it all up, this is when you get the whole picture. And so we were quite happy when we could add new players to our ecosystem that we were reselling. And as I mentioned also earlier, we are providing intelligence on our own by using our partners' platforms. And now we really feel that we have a 360 to be able to provide the fitting feedback to our customers. Alejandra, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to add that the technology allows not only to catch and to grab the text, but also they listen, they transcript, and that's where they find the mention.
Dimension, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. For your clients, what are the typical, like, we always hear about, like, we wouldn't be in this space if we didn't have people asking us questions. But more than asking us questions, they're solving a business need. So, can you, if you can, what are some of the kind of client questions you get, or some of the scenarios or challenges they face when they come to you with an ask?
This really depends on the market. We serve customers in the Americas and in Europe, a little bit in Asia, and you see it. We are serving a large multinational beauty company that is active basically on all the major continents. And it's very interesting to see that the requirements are very different depending on the geography. The Latin American requirements, and in particular the Brazilian ones, are quite advanced, whereas we have the feeling that in Europe the analysis is still a little bit more conservative. For instance, so for once in Brazil we feel like a trendsetter, followed closely by the US. But it really depends on the market. So there is no one single answer.
I'm so glad you brought up the regional differences, because I've noticed the same. Some of our peers in the LATAM space, and specifically Brazil, do seem to be at the curve or ahead of the curve, and then US and quite frankly everywhere. We have a question from Marissa. Her question is, have you had any issues, this is back to the transcription, and transcribing for pigeons and dialects, or new cultural words emerging from trends?
Yeah, so the voice analysis and video analysis is quite recent. We started this I would say 8 months ago, give or take.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not as polyglot as universal as, for instance, the traditional monitoring. Yeah, today again, one of those major platforms, they analyze in all different pidgin and dialects. So this is all well managed. On the audio part, it depends on the language. In fact, Of course, the major European languages, I shall say, work also quite well. We have some uh, challenges with Catalan, which is a local Spanish, yeah, dialect. But again, it's good, and this is where the artificial intelligence comes in. As I mentioned earlier, we download all the information, all the mentions, and then we process it with some algorithms to improve it. Yeah, and this is basically what you have to do. I feel reminded of natural language processing some 8 years ago when it was all fairly new. You really had to work hard to get the sentiment analysis right. Yeah, so as this is still quite innovative and brand new, we are facing challenges. But again, with the onset of all those great algorithms that are available, it won't take as long as in the good old days the improvement of the NLP took.
Uh, the NLP has improved leaps and bounds. But to that point, thank you so much to you both for sharing your insights on beauty trends and geographical cross functionality and everything you've touched on. And thank you so much for those in the chat for the questions.